This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming back the lovely, the awesome Bea Waters. She is a singer, actress, and writer. She has a new novel out. It's called Atlantis Rising, Project Human 2. It is the sequel to her past book, Project Human, which we talked about last time she was on. And we're going to talk about that today. I'm going to ask her what her favorite movie of all time is and her top 3 Desert Island albums. And it's going to be a great conversation. You know, Bea is a very awesome, positive person, and I love talking to her. And it's going to be great to have her back on to catch up and all that stuff. I mean, she's a lovely, lovely Canadian human being and just an awesome person. And, you know, I got her through the Greg Gilbert connection years ago. And it's going to be friggin' awesome. So yeah, here is my new interview with Bea Waters, aka Bronwyn. Hey Bea, welcome back. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Well, despite the fact that the world's getting crazier and crazier, I am fucking blessed. I cannot complain, and I'm so glad to be back with you today.
I don't think that we can do anything about the world getting crazier and crazier other than deciding just not to participate. I mean, when the
Exactly.
pandemic happened back in, what was it, 2020, I told my husband a bunch of times, we're observers, we're not participants. Don't participate in the crazy and you won't get sucked into it. And we didn't participate and we didn't get sucked into it. So that's the attitude I'm kind of taking right now.
Exactly. That's the best way to do it. Just don't participate. It's just like
Nope.
that. It's just like Paul Anka on that Simpsons Halloween special. Just don't look. Just don't look. I've been telling people that since the election in 2017. Just, don't pay attention. You know?
Yeah, we've got problems up here in Canada too,
I
because
know.
we've got the same kind of nonsense going on. So,
I know. I know. So
can
let's.
you imagine? Can you imagine like a staunch Republican deciding to cross the floor and become a Democrat midterm?
Never thought of it that way, but yeah, I mean, at this point, anything's possible.
We've had 5 of those in the past 3 months.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
That is
Mark
crazy.
Carney really, really, really wants to have a majority government. Right now, he has a minority government
Mm-hmm.
because we have multiple parties.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have enough votes on any bill to get it through without having to cooperate with one of the other parties. And this guy doesn't like to cooperate. So he's
Mm-hmm.
been luring people to come over to the Liberal Party. And one of them, it turns out that her son was caught with some child porn on his computer, and it
Oh.
sounds like she got lured over because they're going to go easy on her son.
Oh,
I mean,
Jesus.
I haven't checked the veracity of of but
Yeah.
this is what's going on in our politics. So, I mean, when you say you got crazy south of the border, we got some crazy up here too. I feel for you.
Yeah. Shit. Oh, my God. It never ends. So, let's start with this new book, Atlantis Rising, Project Human 2. It's a sequel to Project Humans, which we talked about last time. Did you already have this sequel in mind, or is it something that evolved as the first one was being written?
I already knew this sequel, what was going to happen, and how it was going to go when I was about halfway through writing the first book. This Project Human series was originally pitched as a television series.
Huh.
So I pitched this to the vice president of development at Fox Studios. That's where he was working at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he absolutely loved the concept. But because it's got like 13 different alien species, it's a high budget television show if anybody's going to make it, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
think Battlestar Galactica, but even worse because everyone in Battlestar Galactica looks human other than the robots. But, you know, this has lots of different alien life and different alien worlds. So he said to me, I could sign you, but I'd have to just give you a place in the writer's room. I can't put you in charge of this show. And so somebody else is going to take all these cool characters that you've invented in these worlds and these conflicts, and they're going to go in the direction that they think is best. And he said, I want to see where you go. So go home, look at Walking Dead, look at Game of Thrones, write me a series of books. And once the story is set out, people like me are going to be in a bidding war over this.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was the nicest rejection that I had ever heard. And so that's why this is a book series first and foremost, because I'm making sure to get the story down so that when we turn it into a TV show, where it's going has already been mapped out. And so at the end of book 2, it tells you the title for book 3, because I know where everything is going.
Wow. So the show's going to happen?
Well, I'm hoping. I mean, I'm currently actually speaking with a showrunner.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Fingers crossed. But my plan was always to do 13 books.
Yeah.
So, you know, if it doesn't happen until book 3 or book 4 or book 5, I'm not really married to when it turns into a TV show. What I'm worried about is making sure that I do the absolute best job I can at telling the most entertaining story and compelling adventure that I can possibly create.
Wow. Because the entertainment world has become so corporate now that it's so hard for any book to be turned into like a limited series or something. Back in the day, it seemed like books were getting turned into series or movies just left and right. Now it's just everything's voted by a committee.
Well, I have a lot of hope because I look at the case of Andy Weir, and he's not turning his books into series, he's turning them into movies. But he wrote The Martian, and he couldn't get it published. He couldn't get an agent and a publisher to publish that book, so he self-published it. And it became such a big success that they made it into a movie starring Matt Damon. And now Andy Weir's second book is Project Hail Mary. And we've all heard of that as a big blockbuster movie. So to me, it looks like Hollywood and the TV world really need fresh, original content. They keep remaking things and they keep making sequels to things that seem like the first episode. They really need new original stories, but they don't want to take those new original stories from untested authors. So I'm putting my books out there, I'm testing them, I'm getting the 5-star reviews, I'm getting the next book and the next book and the next book. And like he said, once it's all on paper and there's an audience behind it, the obvious answer is to turn it into a TV show. They'll make money off it when they know it's viable. So I'm not really worried.
Yeah. What is it about the sci-fi genre that you gravitate toward?
I saw a UFO when I was 10 years old on my birthday in my backyard. I had a couple girls over for sleepover. We were out playing hide and seek. And I saw red, yellow, and blue flashing lights streak across the sky in a Z formation. You guys call it Z, we call it Z, just to be clear with your audience what I'm talking about. And I went in and I asked my father, who's an engineer, what kind of plane can make a Z across the sky? And he said, there isn't one. And I said, but there has to be because I just saw it. And he said, you probably imagined it. And I don't like being told that I've imagined things that I've actually experienced with my eyeballs or with my other senses. So that kind of sent me down the rabbit hole of looking out at the universe. And then I found science fiction. My first science fiction book that I read was Madeleine L'Engle's A Wrinkle in Time. And I have gone back to that book a couple of times throughout my life and reread it because I really love that book. But I cannot believe that we are the only intelligent life in the universe. I can't believe we're the only intelligent life in the galaxy. It's just so incredibly improbable that out of all of the billions of stars and the trillions of planets in this galaxy alone, that we're the only place intelligent life popped up. No. And when I look back, I've done a lot of research through ancient cultures to see what ancient cultures have said. And there was a time in the past before the moon came into our sky. There are teachings from indigenous cultures about the time before the moon. There's teachings from the Hopi about the time that the ant people came out from underground and took them underground to keep them safe from a cataclysm. In the pyramids in ancient Egypt, there's a carving of a UFO in the wall. You don't take the time to carve a UFO into a wall of stone unless that's something that you've actually seen and you want to record. So there's enough evidence across the ancient history of this planet to let me know that there really not only are aliens, but that we have been visited again and again and again.
Yes.
And my brain says, if they keep visiting us, why are we not in contact? Why aren't we speaking to them? Why aren't they teaching us like big brothers? Why aren't we learning from them? And so it's all of these questions swirling around in my mind that ended up creating this crazy mess of a series that I call Project Human.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I talked to this woman, Dr. Lynn Keatai. She was an actress when she was younger. If you've seen the movie Raising Arizona, she's Mrs. Arizona. She was like 40 years old playing older in that movie. And she's a UFO expert because she had a UFO encounter in the 80s, and she's become, a person who travels around and gives lectures and writes books and all of that stuff. And she faces a lot of criticism and skepticism because just people don't want to accept that UFOs are real and that they are out there.
Yeah, I mean, we have here where I live in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
There's a famous guy named Stanton Friedman who was, I believe, an astrophysicist. I might be getting his background wrong, but he set out in the UFO field to disprove that they exist, and he became one of the most famous UFO researchers that I've heard of. Stanton Friedman is quoted all over the place when you get into like the whole thing of UFO research, but he got into it planning to debunk it as a myth, and then the evidence that he found, he could not debunk it. So, I mean, there's lots of people out there who don't want to believe what they haven't themselves experienced. And I think that's very egocentric. Just because I haven't experienced the top of Mount Everest doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Just because I haven't been to the bottom of the Marianas Trench doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Just because you haven't seen a UFO or made, face-to-face contact with an alien doesn't mean they don't exist. And anybody who's going to tell me something doesn't exist because they haven't experienced it themselves, I look at that as small-minded, and those are really generally not the people I associate with. I like to think about possibilities rather than shutting things down and staying in that comfy, safe little place where I know everything. Yeah. I think the more I learn, the more I understand that I know very, very little about this vast universe. And I do know a lot, and I have a high IQ, and I know enough to know that I know virtually nothing. So that's my response to those people is, if you're going to say you don't believe, great. Go don't believe over there, and I don't really need that in my orbit.
Yeah. Are you an X-Files fan?
Oh, I loved that show. I really, really, really enjoyed that. It was really interesting to be watching, two FBI agents. And I loved seeing that they put Dana Scully with Fox Mulder because she was the skeptic.
Yes.
And she was supposed to be the one reeling him in and stopping him from going down these rabbit holes. But every single episode, she would find something so compelling that her scientific brain, she was the scientist of the two. Yeah. And her scientific brain could not let go of the facts that she was presented with. Now, I know it's a X-Files is not real. It's not a documentary series. It's right. Fictional. But the way they were drawing those characters and portraying them, it was just so incredibly compelling. And I thought that was such a good. And Vince Gilligan, the maker of Breaking Bad, actually worked on 30 episodes of the X-Files.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And he just put out a new sci-fi show called Pluribus. And you can tell that the man likes sci-fi.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I had a huge crush on Gillian Anderson when I was in junior high. I mean, big time.
I I think all the boys did, and all the girls had a crush on Fox Mulder because he was like tall and debonair and settled in his convictions, and he wasn't going to be convinced that his eyes didn't see what his eyes were seeing, and he was always so gentle
Hmm.
with Dana Scully. And yeah, I really wanted to ship them. I wanted them to get together, but they were professional. But yeah, I think all the boys had a crush on Scully, and all the girls had a crush on Mulder.
Yeah. I listen to David Duchovny's podcast sometimes. He talks about learning from failure in life and in showbiz with his showbiz friends. It's actually a pretty entertaining podcast.
Ooh, I love a good podcast. I love a good recommendation for another podcast. Thank you.
Yep, it's called Fail Better with David Duchovny.
Nice.
So, how long did it take to write this book?
This book took a lot longer than I had expected because my mom got sick with cancer last year.
Oh.
And so when I found out what her diagnosis was, kind of stopped everything, and I was just 100% there with her. And actually we lost her like 13 weeks after I found out that she was sick. So that was really heartbreaking because actually she was the healthiest person that I know. Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I say that she was almost 77, but she was a physiotherapist her entire life. She went walking every single day. She raised me on food grown in an organic garden. Like every single thing, never smoked, never touched alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
very, very big in her faith community. Every single thing about this lady said that she was going to live to a ripe old age. And then she got one of these turbo cancers and was gone. So I would have preferred to be able to get this book out, um, even in, I think it probably would have been ready in early 2025 if if my mother hadn't gotten sick when she did. So,
Mm-hmm.
and she was one of my biggest supporters when I released Project Human.
Mm-hmm.
So, not having her there for the release of book 2, not having her there to read it and tell me what she thought when I was done was really, really hard. And I think it took me, I'm going to say like a good 4 months to just push through. And I think I delayed the steps that I was taking. Like I delayed getting it proofread, and I delayed the final editing and everything just because it was so hard for me to push forward without my mother's involvement.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she'd be really, really proud of the book and the way it is now. So, double-edged sword. But it took me a lot longer than I had planned.
I'm so
So
sorry.
the first book was published in November 2023,
Mm-hmm.
and then this one was published end of March 2026. So, really that's too long between books, but also I want to make sure that I don't put a book out there until it's done, done, done. I don't want you to read something and be like, well, this part could have been better, or maybe there's that plot hole that I didn't really get. I don't want any of that. I
Mm-hmm.
don't I don't want my readers to ever think that I didn't put in every single piece of effort I could before asking them to pay me money for my book. So, and I mean, it kind of shows in terms of the reviews that I've had on Project Human anyway. I still have 5 stars on Amazon.ca. I still have 5 stars on Amazon.com. I have gotten, I think, 1 4-star review on the UK side. So I have a little bit less than 4 point something on the UK side. But that's a
Nice.
testament to the fact that I put the work in and I make sure that the polish is there before I put it out. So that's going to be my promise to readers all the time, is that I'm never going to rush putting the book out because people are saying it's got to be on this schedule. I'm the publisher. I'm going to make sure that the product that I put out is value for money.
Nice. Nice. Are you still doing the book signings?
Oh, yeah. I was at a UFO conference this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
They had a UFO conference in my hometown. So I was there selling books and signing books. And I have people who are fans from book 1 who have contacted me directly, and they're purchasing a book directly from me instead of going on Amazon, which is awesome. because I have to ship them the book, but they get an autographed copy, and I actually make more of a profit when people buy directly from me, even if I have to ship the book. So, yeah, but I find like the people across Canada who have read the book and want book 2, they want the signed copy. So I'm just getting really good feedback from everybody, and it kind of lifts me up without my mom here telling me that I'm doing well. For the fans to be like coming right to me and saying, "I want my book 2 signed," that's something pretty special.
Yeah, and it's got to be a lot of fun too to do it, you know.
I love going to these events and meeting people in person because everybody has a really interesting story. And, everybody that's read book 1, they tell me what their connection is to book 1. And so I get to hear all of these stories about how people feel about the characters that I've written.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know that there's a lot of artists who actually get to interact with fans the way that writers and actors do. I mean, actors do as well, but
Mm-hmm.
If you're a painter and your painting is hanging in a museum somewhere, you're not going to get a steady stream of people coming to you and saying, "Oh my God, I love that painting," right?
Mm-hmm.
And I get that from people, and it's a really special thing, and it's a relationship that I cherish. So I'm always looking to nurture those relationships with my fans.
And you do those moderated Q&A beforehand?
I haven't done any of those yet.
Oh.
2 weekends from now, I'm going to like an independent Comic-Con type festival.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Miramichi River Fan Fest, and they have me doing a lecture on world building because I had to build 13 different worlds for this book series. So when you're just building one world, you can get really immersive, and it's quite easy. But when you need to build 13 different worlds that are different enough from each other that it doesn't look like a cookie cutter kind of thing with a few elements changed, then you really have to dig into your world building abilities. So I'm sure that I'll get some Q&A and stuff like that after that one. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that kind of experience is coming. It's in the pipeline.
So I'm curious, what's your favorite movie of all time?
My favorite movie of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, it's not going to be in the sci-fi genre. I can tell you that. It's probably Dirty Dancing. It's probably Dirty Dancing. Just the romance between Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was like, something that I watched as a kid and I watch over and over and over again, and I can't really get enough of that movie.
It's funny, Dirty Dancing and Top Gun. I hate the movies, but I love the soundtracks.
Oh yeah, actually, my husband before like he was with me, he had a real thing for this Patrick Swayze song, "She's Like the Wind," and when he found out that one of my favorite movies of all time is Dirty Dancing, that song ended up going into multiple playlists. He likes to see me smile when it comes on the playlist.
But are there any sci-fi movies you like?
Oh yes, yes. Well, okay. First of all, I'm more into a TV series than I am into a movie.
Okay.
Just overall, because there's more character development. So I'm a big fan of Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, love
I'm
it.
a big fan of original Star Trek. It's campy, but it was doing what it was supposed to do, or what it was supposed to do. A Western in outer space. That's exactly what it is. I loved Firefly. I liked the follow-up movies that told you what was going on. I know they're remaking that series. It's coming back, so that's going to be. I don't know if it's a remake or a follow-up, but it looks like they're bringing back the original cast, so that's really cool. I liked Alien with Sigourney Weaver. I'm not really into the scary stuff so much when I watch things because I don't like being afraid.
Yeah.
I think it releases the wrong chemicals in my body, and I like doing happy things to my body instead of making myself, go to bed with nightmares. So
yeah.
I don't watch a whole lot of, and a lot of sci-fi is horror. It's like the aliens are going to come up and kill us all. So I don't really watch a whole lot of that, but I do enjoy science fiction, and I enjoy fantasy, and I also enjoy nonfiction documentaries and stuff like that. So big fan of the TV series Ancient Aliens. You know, that's sci-fi but documentary. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, I've interviewed cast members of Battlestar Galactica. I love the original.
Oh wow, that's got to be pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's funny. Universal had the last run of the old Hollywood studio system. They were signing people to huge contracts in the '70s to be on the TV shows and the movies, and all these people, they all had contracts at Universal to do that stuff. It was so cool. And then by like '81 or '82, the studio system was completely done for Universal and all the Hollywood studios in general. Um, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Blade Runner. That's like my favorite sci-fi movie of all time.
That's a great movie. The Fifth Element. That's an excellent sci-fi movie.
Luke Besson.
As a child, E.T., I really liked that because it was showing the government in the true light. Like if an alien came down here and landed, the government would pick them up and try to dissect it and find out how it works, right? They wouldn't treat a single alien being with any kind of respect unless that alien being had the ability to wipe us out. And I think that's very true.
Yeah.
So I liked how that was portrayed. Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yep.
That was a really good one. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That was a really good one.
Yep.
Yeah. Too many to name. Like now that you got me into it, now I'm on a roll.
Oh yeah, the first Star Wars is a favorite of mine. Tron. Yes. The 2001: A Space Odyssey. Oh, great. That's a great one.
It's slow, but it's really good. And it's showing us kind of what AI might end up doing, using humans as the experimental guinea pigs.
Well, you know what else? It also says, what if we were not born in heaven? What if we were born in space?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's possible, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that the octopus came from planet Earth. The octopus doesn't share DNA with anything else on planet Earth. So the octopus very likely as a tiny little polyp showed up on a meteor and hit our oceans and ended up, because our oceans are so vast, same kind of concept as a goldfish. If you put it in a small bowl, it stays small. If you put it in a vast ocean, it becomes huge. I kind of think that's what happened with all of the octopus.
Yeah. And I've also gotten into the classic Star Wars or the Star Trek series lately. I have a huge VHS collection. It's like my own personal video store in my room, and I've been getting all the Star Trek episodes on VHS. And oh my God, I forgot how funny that show was, and how the campiness of the '60s situations was so clever and brilliant. It's such a great series. It's no wonder it just has all these generations of fans.
And that series was made possible by Lucy, like I Love Lucy.
Yes,
I can't remember her last name. I'm crap with names, but
yeah,
Lucille Ball, right?
Yes, Desilu Productions.
Yeah, she was the one that greenlit Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek. Like, she's the godmother of the modern sci-fi fantasy series. Like, I just love that.
I had her daughter on here last summer, and I tried to ask about that and stuff. She's talked so much about her mother and her father over the years that, I don't know, she didn't seem too interested in going there, so I moved on. But my question for her was, was there ever talk about her mom guest starring on a Star Trek episode? Because I think she would be perfect to, like, do a dramatic role on that show.
Oh, she would have made an excellent, like, alien queen.
Yeah. Oh, God. Can you imagine Lucy with the makeup on, and you're like, okay, but where's her lipstick? That would be perfect. Oh, my God. I'm just thinking about that right now. That's so awesome.
I'm glad I put something in your head.
Yeah. What are your top 3 desert island albums? Like, if you were alone on a desert island, you only had 3 albums, what would they be?
Alanis Morissette's, not her first album, because she did an album as a teenager just called Alanis.
Yeah.
But the breakout one with You Ought to Know.
Yeah.
I would want that album with me. I would probably have to have something by Dave Matthews. Couldn't tell you which one because there's a lot of good albums. Maybe Busted Stuff.
Huh.
And then my own personal album that I did in 2006. I did an album 20 years ago, Tommy.
Yeah.
20 years ago, I cut a CD. And I just found it the other day on Spotify. And I didn't put it on Spotify. So I'm going to have to call Spotify and like talk to them about copyright and stuff. But yeah, 20 years ago. So my own ego would take my album as my third.
That is interesting.
But not as my first choice. Not as my first choice.
That is interesting. I have never heard a musician say one of their own albums. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I love, like, to me, the three best debut albums of all time are The Doors' first album, Van Halen's first album, and The Go-Go's first album, because they represent three different eras of LA rock in a nutshell. Like, they represent the sound of those scenes that they were in, you know?
Okay. Well, the reason that I chose the albums that I chose is because if I was going to be on a deserted island and I'm never going to have any other music, I want to have music that I enjoy singing along to. So I'll sing along to any Dave Matthews, and I love singing along to that first Alanis album, even though I have other of her albums and I sing along to those as well. And I sing along to my own stuff because it's my own stuff. So that was why I chose them, was just so that I would have the ability to sing. Because I think that if you have the ability to sing and you do it, you can put yourself in a good mood no matter what your circumstances are.
Yeah. I interviewed this girl.
And if I'm stuck on a deserted island by myself forever, I'm going to need something to put myself in a good mood. So it would be singing.
I interviewed this woman who was in this 80s cult teen comedy that I love called The Vows, which most people don't even remember. And turns out she has been Alanis Morissette's still photographer on tour for 30 years, and she directed the Head Over Feet video where it's just, Alanis's face focused the entire time. She told me, God, they had so much fun making that video because Alanis was just being goofy and making faces and just making everyone laugh.
I'm surprised that she didn't pick her nose just for the fun of it.
I know.
She was so close to the screen, and that would have been really funny, but it probably would have been that thing that people would have never given up on. Like, I can't believe she picked her nose, but you know what I mean? Like, she was so front and center right on the camera in that video. I'm kind of surprised she didn't do it. She might have done it, and it didn't make it into the video, and it's just like a joke between her and the crew.
Of course, yeah. And, that video played so much on VH1 when I was 12, 13 years old in junior high. It's just one of those videos, like, every time I see it, it just takes me back to that time. It's so familiar and it's so iconic in my life,
I really like the video for Ironic because it almost feels like four personalities of Alanis sitting in a car on a car trip together. Like, that's the vibe of it. Like, because they're very kind of different. Each version of her behaves very differently. And I really liked the concept of that one. That was my favorite Alanis video, I think.
That is so cool. Yeah. So I have a new naughty story for you.
Okay.
On Valentine's Day this year, for the first time ever, I went to a sex club.
Ooh, a sex club.
Yeah.
So is that a club where people are having sex with each other, or is that a club where people go and pay to have sex with the staff?
Yeah, so it's pretty much... Okay, so it's pretty much like a swingers club, right? Where just couples swap and everything, and on one side of the room there's the bar where everyone's socializing, and then on the other side of the room everyone's having freaky sex in public. Yes. So generally this is how it works. You're supposed to be married when you go to these clubs because they won't let any singles in. But because it was Valentine's Day, they had a very rare singles night where both singles and couples come and mingle with each other. So me and my friend, we went to this club. He moved into my house last summer, and for like 7 months he was here, and there was a lot of tension between him and the rest of my family, and so we wanted to go do something fun before he moved out. So we go there, and we met some very interesting people. I met this cool lesbian couple that was in their like late 20s, and they took me into a private room, and they let me watch them go at it, and it was so titillating and hot, and it was one of those honeymoon suite beds that we were on because they let me. It was a big bed, right? So they let me just lay on the bed with them there, and they had like pink and red sheets, like an actual honeymoon suite bed, and it was fun.
That must have been very interesting in terms of, for me, the difference between two women having sexual relations on their own terms
Hmm.
versus how that kind of interaction is portrayed in pornography that is meant to titillate the viewer.
Right.
I feel like there would have been a big gap between the performance that you would see in a movie versus just what was going on in the room. Very interesting.
Right. Right. Yeah. And these two were freaky. So it was like watching an amateur porn in a lot of ways. But, it takes a lot of trust to like have an experience like this, right? So, I mean, we were talking for a good 45 minutes before this even happened, and
Yep.
my friend, I don't know, he went to go make out with somebody, and it didn't really lead to much, but he had fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, yeah, I'm glad you guys got to experience that. I have a friend who's a swinger, and she
Hmm.
very much enjoys that lifestyle. And she tells me tidbits and stuff, but it's not really, it's not the scene that I'm into. But
Hmm.
I mean, I think that where you're in like a really big city, like I used to live in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I'm sure there were clubs like that. There was posters up once for like a dungeon night, and you had to go in. You had to be dressed like there was a dress code to get in, and it was leather and latex.
Hmm.
And if you weren't wearing leather or latex, you weren't getting in and stuff.
Right.
Um, I saw the posters. I never really went because that's not my scene, but it's not something that I look down my nose on. I think anybody who is a consenting individual
Yep.
who is having a good time with other consenting individuals that are all adults, no animals, no children, we're all good. Do
Yeah.
it. Do it. Rocks your socks.
Yeah.
Because, like I said earlier, like if I was stuck on a deserted island, the biggest challenge would be staying happy. And
Hmm.
so my strategy would be to have music that I can sing to because that keeps me happy. I
Hmm.
mean, if two consenting adults are having a great time and they're making each other happy, awesome. Or three
Hmm.
consenting adults or 10 consenting adults, it doesn't really matter what the number is either. It doesn't matter what sex people are, it doesn't matter how many people are, just as long as they're all consenting and they're all of age. I think it's cool.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that the club has. They have a security guy walking around everywhere, making sure that everything is consensual because of the Me Too movement and everything, and they don't want to get sued and stuff. And fortunately, in this room, the guy only came around once, and that was great because otherwise. It would have really interrupted a lot of great stuff. But yeah, he just goes around asking if everything's all right and stuff, and then just carry on.
I would think that their concern would go beyond lawsuits as well. Like
Yeah.
if there were unsafe things that happened at the club, women are going to tell each other very quickly.
Hmm.
That's not a safe place to be,
Yeah.
and their business would completely dry up because,
Yeah.
and unless they're willing to convert to like a males only gay club, they're going to need women there. Um, and if we women don't feel safe in a place because our safety is not being prioritized, we will tell each other. We will
Right.
tell each other very quickly.
Right. Right. Are you?
That's beautiful that exists and that everybody's like being taken care of and that the safety aspect is there, I highly applaud that.
Oh yeah, I mean, they have a ton of sex clubs in LA, and again, it's you have to be married to go to them and stuff, right? But yeah, I've heard that they're really, really fun and they're really, really steamy, and a lot of celebrity couples go there, and I think they try to go anonymously, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way, because they're
Uh,
famous. Yeah, I know
if
that's.
I ever went to if
Mhm.
I ever went to a sex club, it would be with my husband and just to kind of be there and to see what's going on, but not for the swinging because I'm
Yeah,
a
yeah.
I'm a one person woman.
Yeah, I go for swinging and I go for voyeurism, obviously, so
Nice,
that's my wheelhouse,
nice.
I know that Sting.
Do you ever bring
Oh,
yourself a fake keyhole so that you can look through the keyhole?
a fake keyhole. Never heard of those.
You just get like a cardboard piece of paper and you cut out a keyhole and you bring it with you and then you watch it through a keyhole and it feels more like you're watching through a keyhole.
Nah, that would be kind of silly for me. I will tell you this though, I
Okay.
am I am a glory holer though.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's the same kind of concept, or it's the same kind of concept as like peeking through a hole in the wall to see something that you're not supposed to see, right?
Right. I do know
So
that's
it just creates that ambiance, if you
right.
will.
I do know that Sting and his wife are swingers. They go to sex clubs. They've talked about it together in interviews and stuff, which I find interesting.
They're they're very much into the tantric sex as well, which apparently takes like 8 hours. I don't have the patience for that. Like, I don't have 8 hours of my day to sit there meditating on my yoni. I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
But hey, to each their own. Like I said, to each their own.
I know, I know. Are you comfortable talking about menopause?
Am, but I'm 48 and I'm nowhere near it, so I don't really know what I would have to add to the conversation.
Are
But
you?
yeah, I'm 48 years old and I'm nowhere near menopause. I
Mm-hmm.
think my mom started her menopause when she was 55, 56,
Mm-hmm.
and it runs in the bloodlines of the women, so I got like another decade before that even hits.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by it because, again, another podcast I can recommend, Hot Flashes and Cool Topics on YouTube. It's this podcast where these two middle-aged women talk to celebrities, they talk about their careers, but then near the end they talk about their menopause journeys, and I find it very interesting now that I'm getting older in my 40s and stuff. I just find it fascinating, and it's both sad and interesting, where a woman has to go through with it.
Well, and every woman has a different experience too. Like you have to realize that it's hormone levels and it's
Hmm.
how your how your cells and how your organs react to those hormones, and all of that can be changed by, what kind of nutrition you put into your body your whole life, what kind
Hmm.
of damage you've done to your cells and your organs. Like, have you done a whole lot of drinking and drugs that you damaged your organs, or is everything still clean inside? Like all of that is going to have an impact on your experience when the hormones change in such a huge way.
Hmm.
So, I mean, my mother, her experience was hot flashes. There wasn't really anything else. She didn't get insomnia. She didn't get any brain fog. Thank God, because I love my brain. I go on 1,000,000 miles an hour all the time. I don't want no brain fog. So I'm really glad that for her, that was not part of the experience, because that means for me it won't be. But yeah, for her, the big thing was hot flashes. So when I get to that point, I am going to have to wear layers and I'm going to be stripping no matter where I am. And people are just going to have to deal with it. I'll be like, hot flash, don't like being around women, don't be around me. Like, I will be unapologetic about taking most of my clothes off to deal with it.
When you had your first period, was it scary?
Uh, not, not so much. I was at school, but I was prepared, and
Hmm.
I was an early bloomer. So I had some friends who were also early bloomers, and they got their first period before me.
Hmm.
So we had already had the girl talk, so I knew what was coming, and that was a good thing because mother was British, and so very like stiff upper lip, like we don't talk about those kind of things, right? So I didn't get the education from her, but thank goodness I got it from a girlfriend. So it wasn't a big deal. It was just like, oh shit, now I could get pregnant if I was having sex. I didn't have sex until a month before I turned 20. Like I was late losing my virginity too, because it wasn't really something that I was like, there's a lot of societal pressure, I would guess. And I've always been the person that's like, if society is telling me that I should be this way, I'm going to be the other way because I like to be original. So yeah, it wasn't really a big deal for me at all. It was just that kind of, oh God, now I have to deal with this every month. And I still do.
I think young girls who saw Stephen King's Carrie were just terrified because it showed them what they were probably going to go through, with their periods and stuff. I just hope no one ever got theirs in the shower like she did.
I never I never took any stock in that because to me that was a man's view of what that experience is. I knew that at a very young age. I was like, oh, well, this is just what a man thinks is happening and he doesn't have any freaking clue. So whatever, he wants to turn it into a horror show. It's a horror show for you. It's a beautiful thing for me. Go take your horror show and keep going with that. You know what I mean? Like I didn't put any stock in that at all.
Well, that would have never have occurred to me for someone to get their period in the shower. I mean, that is just dark. I mean, really, really dark.
Yeah. That's not that dark, Tommy. Like, that's kind of the best place for it to happen because then you don't ruin any of your clothes.
Okay. That's true.
Stains.
That is true.
Like, if you're wearing a white dress and you get your period, you're never wearing that white dress again because there's always going to be a mark. Getting your period in the shower is the best place to get it.
Okay. I have this joke. I say, what are the two best days in a woman's life? The day that her first child is born and the last day of her period.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it's true.
I don't know. I think a lot of women. I've spoken to some women who actually mourned the loss of their period when they lost it because it was with them through their whole adult lives. So it's like, you get used to being a certain way. You get used to counting on your body doing certain things, and all of a sudden it decides, no, it's time for a whole new era. You know what I mean? That's a difficult kind of thing to go through. It's just as difficult as like when you go through puberty and all of a sudden parts of you start to grow and you get hair in places you didn't know you were going to get hair. I mean, if you went through sex ed, you knew it was coming, but still, it's like, what the heck? You know what I mean? I think it's, I don't think, I don't plan to celebrate when I stop having periods, but I mean, I don't celebrate having them either. It's just a biological fact. It's not really like, I mean, it's like, to me, it's like the equivalent is the first time you have a wet dream. Guys get freaked out the first time they have a wet dream, but it's a normal part of being a teenage boy and even a man.
Yeah.
So, like, would you celebrate if you stopped being able to ejaculate?
No, I wouldn't. If I got blue balls, I wouldn't celebrate.
No, but I mean, if there was no pain associated, but all of a sudden you could never ejaculate again, would you throw a party?
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's me taking the situation and flipping it around to a male analogy and making you realize, oh no, I wouldn't celebrate giving that up. I don't think there's many women who celebrate getting rid of their periods. Yeah. I think that's a male myth because then men think, oh, women don't have to deal with the mess anymore. Like, that's not the way we see our bodies. So, I mean, and women can feel free to like completely disagree with me. I'm sure there are times in my life, like I got my period once at a water park and I was not prepared for it. I had to go and like find a complete stranger and be like, do you guys have any tampons? Like, my period just came 5 days early and I can't drive 2 hours to get home. And, like, you have to ask those embarrassing questions. So I'm sure there's times in my life where I'm like, oh my God, if I didn't have periods anymore, that would be great. But I don't think that I know that I've never like wished for it to go away. Just like you would never wish to stop ejaculating.
Yeah. And That's a big fear of mine. I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes 4 years ago, which, by the way, it's been managed very well. I only take one
Good.
I only take one metformin now as of last month, and I've been on this diet for a year now, and everything's going great. But that's my biggest fear is just one day, it's going to be bye-bye erections, and I'm just like, God damn it. I mean, what if I'm getting married at the time later in life? I don't want to do the
Right.
I don't want to do the Viagra shit. I don't trust that shit.
No. Does part of your diet include lentils?
Lentils. Now, I could add lentils to the mix.
Okay, so we have a whole bunch of diabetes in our family.
Hmm.
My dad is one of 9 in his generation of like siblings and cousins, and there's only one of them that doesn't have diabetes. There's 8 out of the 9 that do.
Hmm.
So I've done the research because it's in the family gene pool. And if you eat lentils, the lentils will stabilize your glycemic index, your blood sugar levels for 24 hours
Okay.
when you digest.
Okay. That sounds good.
So just adding lentils in your diet will help your body self-regulate.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
So what else do you got
I'm here
coming
to
up?
I'm here to help. What else do I got coming up?
Yeah.
I'm working on the very end of a nonfiction book. As soon as I'm done this nonfiction book, I'm back to book 3 of the Project Human series. And I have started outlining book 3,
Hmm.
but until I've got the outline done, I don't start writing. So I'm working on a nonfiction book, and it's called The Sixth Sense, What It Really Is and How It Can Save Your Life. And it's absolutely nonfiction. We have more than 5 senses. We're only taught that we have 5 senses in school. And I think that there's kind of a shadowy reason for that. I think that the people who are deciding what we get taught as a society have a vested interest in us not knowing
Hmm.
what the 6th sense is and how to use it, because it would help us spot the bad people so much easier. So, spoiler alert, I'll tell you what it is. Your 6th sense is emotion.
Hmm.
Have you ever walked into a room and there's been a huge fight that completely finished before you walked into the room and you could feel the tension?
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone's experienced that.
Right. We even have a saying for it in the English language. You could cut the tension with a knife. We
Hmm.
walk into the room and we don't see the tension, we don't smell the tension, we don't hear the tension, we feel the tension. And that is because when you have an emotion, it gives off an associated frequency. So, what is frequency? Frequency is an energy moving like a wave, like ripples through a pond, and the
Right.
frequency is how often that wave pattern repeats every second. So we have the ability, and cycles per second is hertz. So we have the ability to hear waves that are at a frequency of 20 cycles per second, or 20 hertz, or all the way up to 20,000 hertz, or 20,000 cycles per second. That's the known range of human hearing. Vision sees light. Light is also energy that has a frequency of 400 terahertz, all the way up to 790 terahertz.
Hmm.
And red light starts at 400 terahertz, and the end of violet light is 790 terahertz. So we have different organs in our body that pick up on waves at different frequency ranges.
Hmm.
And I believe that our ability to sense emotions and the emotions that they're sensing are all part of that spectrum, just at a different frequency. So before we ever developed language, we had the ability to feel if there was a predator near us who wanted to hurt us. And it's that wanting to hurt, wanting to kill, I'm going to eat you, that gives us the fear response that we're in danger.
Mm-hmm.
We had that ability long before we had the ability to speak. For anyone out there who has pets, if you're really sad, your pet will climb up on top of you and try to make you happy. The pet knows you're sad, whether you're crying or not. Like, I have 2 cats. They know when I'm sad and they won't leave my side. People experience the same thing with dogs. Horses, they use horses for therapy because horses are able to sense where you're at emotionally. These are things that the animal kingdom does automatically, but we humans have relied so much on language and sight that we've kind of forgotten to use our ability to detect emotions, except when we're in extreme situations of danger. And even then, we don't always listen to that, quote, gut feeling, right?
Yeah.
Gut feeling. That's another term for it. The sensors are probably in our guts, and that's probably why it's called a gut feeling. I don't know where the sensory receptors are, but I do know that there's this Japanese scientist named Masaru Emoto who did a scientific experiment with water. He took water from one source, he separated it into 2 glasses in 2 different rooms, and for 30 days, he told one glass of water, I love you. And for the same 30 days, he told the other glass of water, I hate you, I want to kill you. And after the 30 days, he took a sample from each glass and he froze it. And he photographed the crystals. And you can look this stuff up on the internet. Masaru Emoto is the guy's name. And the love water crystallized into beautiful snowflakes. And the water that he fed hate wouldn't crystallize at all. And we're 70% water. So I can guarantee you that when someone comes along and gives me a healthy dose of hate, it affects me. And when someone comes along and gives me a healthy dose of love, it affects me. But what affects me even more is the emotion I give to myself.
Yeah.
And so I really want to show the world that emotion is a real thing. It's a frequency. You can feel it from others. So you should be able to tell when someone's lying to you. If you practice feeling emotions, naming them, understanding which ones are which and differentiating from them from each other.
Right.
If someone comes to you smiling and saying everything's good and their emotion says something differently, you believe the emotion, not the lie.
Right.
And the people at the top of our world who are running everything are proving themselves to be psychopaths and Machiavellians and maybe also narcissists, but all psychopaths are narcissists anyway.
Right.
And we should be able to tell who they are by the fact that their emotions don't line up with the things their faces show and the things that they tell us. But we're not in tune with those emotions because we haven't been taught it in school. And who's deciding what we get taught in school? Those very people.
Right. Right. I know, it's just like, they don't want they don't want kids in school to know about Edward Bernays, the guy who started public relations because he used his uncle Sigmund Freud's psychiatry tactics to manipulate the masses. If any of the kids know about him, I mean, that's the end of consumerism.
Yep. I don't know though. I mean, knowing that you can be manipulated doesn't stop you from being manipulated.
Right.
Chase Hughes is one of the, he's former CIA agent. He's got videos all over YouTube teaching people about the signs to look for and stuff. And he himself still gets pulled into these big grand psyops that they're conducting on our society. He'll tell you himself that he's not immune to it, even though he's an expert in it. So I think that the best way for us to protect ourselves is to learn how to suss out which emotions are coming underneath the stuff that they're telling you and believe the emotions, don't believe the words, right?
Right.
Actions speak louder than words. They even have a saying, curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah.
I hate that saying because if you're telling me a lie and I have a curious mind, I'm going to say, I wonder if this is true. I wonder what backs that up. I wonder where he got that information. And I'm going to be skeptical. And the powers that control us don't want us to be skeptical. They want us to obey.
Right.
So being curious is the absolute best defense
Right.
against the regime that demands that you obey. Question everything. But they have this saying, curiosity killed the cat, because they want you to be fearful of being curious.
Right.
And that's just, that right there tells me everything I need to know about the people who are perpetuating this kind of system.
Well, Stephen Wright had that joke, curiosity killed the cat, but for a while I was the suspect.
There you go. There you go. That's good.
That's the best use of that quote ever. I love that.
I heard that quote used once. There was curiosity killed the cat and something something didn't bring it back. And I can't remember what the something something is. And if you can, I'd love for you to fill me in. But
if I find it, I will let you know.
Thanks.
Here's a couple of my jokes. What kind of meat does a priest eat on Friday?
Fish?
None.
Oh,
Why is a Rubik's Cube like a man's dick?
because you can never figure out how to get it back the way it's supposed to be.
No, keep playing with it. It gets harder. Jajing, I'll be here all week.
Nice.
B, I love you. Thank you so much for coming back on today. And keep writing those books. And I hope this one does very well for you and it gets made into the series. And you're just an amazing person. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Tommy. I really appreciate you having me on here. Keep doing your awesome podcast, because
Thank you.
You are really good at asking questions. You're really good at engaging conversation.
Thank you.
And, there's always going to be haters out there. I know you've gotten your share of it here and there, but just ignore it, because
Yes.
the people who are for you will come back and will respect you. And I'm one of them.
Yes, I'm so lucky. I have so many of those, and I'm so glad that you're one of them. Have a great rest of your day and be safe out there.
Thank you so much. You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. Bea Waters, ain't she a sweetheart? God, I just love her. Great conversation, great point of view, great mind. I just love her. She is a gem. Go check out her books, Project Humans and Atlantis Rising 2, or Atlantis Rising, Project Humans 2. She is just brilliant, brilliant lady, and I freaking love her. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.